Hello, I'm Liam Horrigan.
And I'm Cara Alberts-Turner, and welcome to You're On Tonight, the podcast all about understudies in the theatre industry, the people who step in and save the day when the unexpected happens.
And this episode, we speak to the incredibly impressive Sam Denia.
We chat to him about the Broadway and West End smash hit Stereophonic, a show that received more Tony nominations than any show in history, and what it is like to understudy roles that sing, act, and play multiple instruments.
What's really lovely about this episode is that Sam talks about how he formed a special relationship with Zachary Hart, who he understudied in the show. And it's amazing to hear how collaborative the rehearsal process was for him.
It's definitely not always that way for understudies, so it was really fascinating to hear how that worked. So, let's get into it.
I'm Liam Horrigan.
And I'm Cara Alberts-Turner.
And Sam Denia, you're on tonight.
Oh, hey.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the first series, man.
Yeah, of course. It's my pleasure.
We're so excited to have you on, and we saw Stereophonic last night, so we've got lots to talk to you about. But
Please.
How is that going?
It's going. We've been on for a long time now. It's been an 8-month contract, and we're in the last 3 weeks now. And I think we're all feeling ready to finish. It's quite an intense play, as I'm sure you'll agree.
3 hours.
3 hours of it is longer, and they really pulled it back. But yeah, 3 hours is a lot, and it's not like a comedy. It is some really
Intense dramatic
moments.
Relationships as well. Like you see relationships like unfold before your eyes and sort of get back to patch together and stuff. Like actors really like giving everything on the stage.
Yeah. I think we're all, even in the studies, we're all like, let's get on to the next thing, but not in a bad way.
No.
In like this has been an amazing experience with an amazing play, but we're tired.
Yeah.
It is tiring.
And for people listening, who do you cover in the show?
I cover Grover, who is the lead engineer, Charlie, who is the assistant engineer, and Reg, who is the bassist of the band that they are recording an album.
Very cool. And it was incredibly successful on Broadway. It had most Tony nominations ever.
Yeah.
And then 5 wins. 2 of the cast have come over to... Three of the cast have come into London, 2 of which you cover.
Yes. Yes.
So what's that like, covering someone who has come from this incredible success with the show overseas and coming to London? What's that experience like?
Because I cover Grover and Reg, so Reg, the actor who plays Reg is British, so he's had to find it himself, and he's gone through the whole process, and that's sort of similar to me as well. But having seen Grover do it, it's already there.
Yeah.
It's already like ready-made. He knows what he's doing. Every scene is it's sort of within an inch of its life. He knows every single beat. So it's been an interesting experience doing those two, because they're so vastly different from each other.
Yeah.
That me and Zach, who plays Reg, have had to make this character ourselves and find out what's going on and his backstory, because there's not much backstory about them all. Whereas Eli, who plays Grover, I'm just doing what he does, basically.
Right, okay.
And that's been interesting to like, Reg has felt like such a huge like mountain to climb, and Grover's felt like he's there already. I could just do that.
You're just slotting in for that sort of thing. That's so interesting to have 2 completely different experiences on the same show at the same time.
Yeah.
Does that make it more stressful when you know you're going on for one or the other, or does it make it more enjoyable? Or
I don't know. I think it's more because we spent so long rehearsals that I felt ready as each character, and Reg, even though he's probably like the hurricane of the show, he's always felt like he's simpler than Grover, even though the actor who plays Grover hasn't had to create the character in rehearsals. It's already there. Zach and I have created Reg, but because we've created him, that's felt a little bit easier because it's ours.
Yeah.
And Eli, who plays Grover, it's his, so I'm doing what he does. So it feels less me.
Right. Okay.
Even though I prefer Grover as a character and I prefer playing him, Reg is kind of mine and Zach's, mainly Zach's, but you know.
That's so interesting. I love the way that you're talking about you and Zach creating the character together, and that you're saying our character. It's not like he's got a version, you've got a version. I'm sure that's true, but it's like that process is created together. And I think that's something we don't hear about a lot when we talk to understudies. Can you explain a little bit more about what that process has been like, creating it sort of collaboratively?
I've never been a cover before, and it was a whole sort of new experience, and I didn't know how to approach Zach, and like, are we doing this together? Is it more you doing it and I'll kind of follow? And Zach was great in the early rehearsals. He kind of brought me in, and he was like, I'm just as lost as you, I'm sure. So let's like go through the order together. Let's go through the timeline. Let's figure out what's happening. That was really helpful. And Zach is a brilliant actor. Like they're all amazing. But Zach's, I think, had the character where there's so little about him in the script that he's just had to create something out of sort of nothing. And it's been fun to watch him create that in rehearsals and sort of hone that. And Emma, who is the associate director, she's been directing us, and she's given us the freedom to kind of do our own thing, but also stick to the beats and the physical, like, sort of places where they are. Yeah. But she's allowed us to kind of make our own character, even though they are going to be ultimately similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. That's really interesting, because I think one of the things... Oh, so sorry.
Sorry.
Hello. Oh, it's Andy. Oh. Andy, our omnipotent company manager. How are you doing? You all right? Hi. What's wrong? A meat raffle. They're at a meat raffle. Are they hosting or are they participating? They're participating. All right, we'll get some ribs. Yeah, I'll tell him. All right, I'll tell him. Thanks. Cheers. Bye. Love you. Bye. Sam, I'm so sorry. That was Andy, our omnipotent company manager. And he said, unfortunately, there's a problem and you're on tonight.
Oh.
I'm sorry. That must be quite stressful to find out now.
Yeah, it is.
We have time.
We've got time. Meat raffles take a long time. Have you ever been to one?
I have never heard of a meat raffle until you just said it right then. So
we'll go
to know we've got time.
Yeah.
Well, besides that phone call there, do you have a most memorable time you've been told you're on tonight?
We have had a mid-show. Not me, but that was the most memorable for me.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't me.
Yeah.
That was like, whoa, this is happening. This is crazy. It was the interval, and Ben, who is not Andy, is it? Adam? Alan? Andy?
Oh, Andy. But
Ben
that's okay. You can mention Ben
is
too.
my
Andy won't be
company
offended. That's fine.
He came in in a puff, like, Lucy, you're on. Literally, you're on, was the words. And in fairness to her, she was like in work mode. Lights were on, makeup was out, the costume team were in. She was locked in. She was such a pro.
Was that during the interval or during like middle of the show?
During the interval. But it was like it was 5 minutes till Act 2 curtain,
wow.
and we were like, "Oh my god, it's happening! This is happening!"
Wow.
Let's lock in.
That's so interesting as well that you say one of the most memorable times was one that actually wasn't happening to you. And I think it's one of those things where you probably, I imagine you felt kind of like, hands off, quite helpless in that moment, just like, well, I can't do anything. I'm just going to watch it unfold. Like, how did that feel?
I literally had to leave the room because I was like, I'm taking up space here, and everyone's in. Right. Like, there was costume in there, sound was in there, Ben was in there, and so I think someone else was in there, and it was like a factory. Everyone was doing the thing, like the jeans were coming out, and then the makeup was being, and then the mic was putting on in the wig, and I was like, I need to get out.
It's like a Formula One pit stop.
Yeah, literally. It was so efficient. And then I think they just made it with a minute over. So it took 6 minutes for her to get out of costume, out of her own clothes, into costume, makeup on, mic on. Yeah, crazy.
And that's crazy because that show just goes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So to be told, okay, 5 minutes, you're getting yourself ready. You have no time to really go over what's then about to happen when you step onto the stage. That's incredible.
Yeah, she was amazing. But we were all in awe at the speed of it all.
That's fascinating as well for a show like Stereophonic, where all of the characters have such strong arcs and the relationships are so intense. Like, to come into that on that night halfway through that arc and have to pick up those emotions and those feelings and those sentiments, that must be an extra challenge, like a huge challenge. Have you had any experiences where you've been told you're on tonight in a similar way, like unexpectedly, or has it always been? Yeah,
I mean, I'd say the most intense one was like all of the actors that I cover, their holidays were really early. So it was like in July and August. And it was probably late September. I hadn't done Grover for a while, and he's on stage all the time. Yeah. And he's got lines in every scene. And it was about 5 o'clock when Ben phoned and said, I'm really sorry, this is so late, but Eli's out and you're on as Grover. And I was like, oh my God. So I had to run to the theatre and just quickly go over everything, because he's on stage all the time. And I was like, do I know what I'm doing with the desk? Do I know his line here? What are the cues? And he's so cue heavy with the desk as well. I'm like, it was so stressful. That was, for me, the worst one. But Grover's the best part for me as well. So it felt good to do it and nail it.
As an understudy, you do get to play more versatile roles, right? Because if you were being cast in this show as one of the principals, probably Grover would be the one you'd be cast as rather than Reg. But I know this is your first time understudying. How did you find that, getting a chance to play characters that maybe on paper a casting director wouldn't say, oh, this is the guy for this specific role rather than this specific role? How did you find that?
I've not thought of that before. And it is actually a joy to be able to do all three characters that are vastly different from each other. It's interesting seeing the play from three different perspectives. The guy who plays Peter, Jack, he was like, you get to see this play from three different angles, three different ways, and three different mindsets.
You mentioned as well about the mentality, and obviously coming in and having to rush in and walk through the blocking of the show, the movements of the show. Is there anything you do to get into the mentality of each of these different characters, or like anything different in the process of that?
No, no, I don't think so. I do like to, before the show, I will try to like sort of run the whole show on stage and just know where I have to be. And the scenes will be the scenes, but you know, as long as I'm where I am and know my cues and know when I'm coming in and when I'm because there's like the stuff with the doors, like the doors need to be left open at certain times. It's like little things like that. In fact, there's as Charlie, because Charlie is kind of a forgotten character, but he does so much on the desk. He does so much, and the real machine that the desk is connected to, that's a real machine, and it really turns, and it like sort of fakes the recording. But that's what would be happening in a real recording studio. Sometimes that doesn't work, and I know the audience aren't even looking at it, but Andrew, who plays Charlie, has this brilliant way of just kind of going over there unnoticed and like fixing it, and then going back. And then it's just so smooth.
Amazing.
And when I'm doing it, it's happened once. I was like, "Oh my god, the show's gonna end. It's gonna be a show stop." Yeah, they're so good. And it's little things like that you don't get to practice when you're a cover, because you don't deal with the mistakes as often as they do. So when it happens, it's like, how do I fix this?
And it's not in your muscle memory.
Exactly. Yeah. You just gotta trust it.
Yeah. So both Grover and Charlie have come over from America, and like you said, it's within an inch of their life. I think they've been doing it, is it since 2014 or something? They've been doing the show. You talked about building the character of Reg, but in terms of freedom to, I guess, where is it Andrew and Eli have both created these characters. How much freedom were you given to take it and make it your own? I know you said you worked with the associate to do that, but given that it's come from America to here, what was the freedom like to do that?
Obviously, they'd been hugely successful in America, and when they came over here, Daniel, the director, allowed the Brits to kind of do what they wanted.
Oh, that's so
like start from scratch.
Okay.
There was no like in Broadway, you were here. It was so free to do whatever they wanted to do, which I thought was brave.
Yeah. Because they're not giving you the tape and going, hey, this is what 113 Tonys, can you do this?
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Which does happen on a lot of shows.
Yeah.
They don't want
course.
it's like the sort of Ming Vase thing of, okay, we've got this perfect thing, we cannot change any of it.
Yeah.
Let's make people carbon copies. So that must have been so wonderful for you and the rest of the
Well, I think we were all just kind of surprised. I think all the covers were surprised. We were like, whoa, this guy's just letting them do what they want.
Yeah.
And obviously they're all brilliant, but you know, you'd stick to like a sort of winning formula.
Yeah.
But he just allowed them to do whatever they wanted. And so because they were always changing, even in late rehearsals, even in previews, they were still changing scenes, that we kind of, it got to a point where it was like, well, we can't do this now because now it's changed.
Yeah.
And we can't do this now because it's changed. So Emma was like, yeah, let's just explore and find it for yourself. But then eventually what they settle on, you kind of have to, I guess physically you have to be there, or like timing and stuff. But yeah, I think it's hard as a cover to have that freedom, because you can't put your footprint on it too much, but also you don't want to just be a carbon copy.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really hard line to walk.
Yeah, because there's a world where I guess this show comes over, the Brits who have taken on the roles are told this is where that person stood. So they're almost like an understudy to the original cast. And then you're understudying them. There's a world where that's very rigid.
Yeah.
That's amazing to hear. And I guess it makes sense, though, with the show being so free, I guess, well, from an audience perspective, free and, fast moving and natural, that if you did try and go, let's make a copy of a copy of a copy, then it starts to become inauthentic, I guess.
Stale, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was really brave of Daniel.
And a huge amount of trust, I suppose.
And a huge amount of trust, which I think the Americans have always had with him. They've always felt like he believes in them. And he's like, he directs them. That is his job.
Yeah.
But, he's not like, you have to do this because that doesn't work.
Yeah.
If he doesn't like it, it wouldn't be like let's not do that. I don't know, he just has this weird way of kind of getting you to do something without telling you how to do it, and then it is kind of like, oh whoa, that's cool, but he doesn't, it's not like a commander. You know what I mean?
Is there a difference in working with an American team and a British team that you've kind of noticed is like glaring, or is it's sort of similar?
Yeah, quite similar. I think also because they've done the show for so long, they were so comfortable doing it. It was second nature, and there was no stress, there was no worry. They were just all really cool, and it's quite a cool show, and they are cool. So it was really like, let's just enjoy making. And at times it was hard because it's an intense play, but it was just let's just have fun. Let's just enjoy it. And there were some tricky times, as I'm sure there is in every show. But overall, it was kind of like, they were cool. They were really cool.
Amazing.
Speaking of fun times and tricky times, we have a section on the podcast called Hero or Horror, where basically understudies can talk about their experiences going on stage and feeling like the superhero, where they've saved the day. And then the opposite, where they've gone on stage and their bums clenched up and they just was like, oh my God, I wish this wasn't happening. Do you have any hero or horror stories from your time on the show?
Not on the show. I think for me, the hero moment is I haven't been on so much. And like, if I weren't available, that's a third of the shows that they've not been able to do.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money lost. And not that makes me feel like, that kind of makes me feel important as a cover, when I think it's very easy to feel underappreciated.
Yeah, of course.
And the covers I feel, and I hope that other covers feel, we do feel like we're part of the company, and we are an important cog in the team. Because together we would have done 100 shows. That's half the run.
Yeah.
Like, we can't not feel important.
Yeah.
That's my hero story.
That's great.
I mean, because it's all been pretty smooth for me.
Yeah.
And thus, there are no horror stories because it's all been pretty smooth.
That's fine.
That's
I mean, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that was an ethos that was put in from the start, in terms of like, right from the get-go of, you guys can create these roles as you want. The director's saying that, but then also like, you could work with Zach to create Reg, like the door has been open for you that whole time to sort of allow that creativity, and therefore allow that vulnerability or whatever it was to be exercised quite early on, so you didn't feel contained, which I think sometimes can be the case for understudies. But that's amazing.
Yeah.
How do we replicate that formula for other shows?
Yeah.
Like, that's fantastic.
That's really great. And that's amazing to hear as well, because I think, unfortunately, it's not always the case, I suppose. But it sounds like it's actually served the show much better for that to be the case, given how many shows you've all gone on for.
Yeah.
Without that trust and confidence, you're going on feeling like, okay, I've got to do this, or I'm not on easy ground. I'm not able to just go, I'm going to do my job. So that's amazing. Yeah. Very, very cool.
I think because the studio itself is its own beast. Like, it is a soundproof studio. And we had to have the speakers on to hear Grover talk in rehearsals as well, because it is genuinely soundproofed. If Daniel was in the stalls, giving direction, they can't hear him.
Oh, wow.
And there are so many cables. It's a fully functioning studio, basically. There's so many cables and there's so many instruments, and there's a lot of like cableography. There's lots of, you got to take that out and then put that one in, and then you got to avoid this one and then step over that one. Technically, that was the hardest part.
Yeah.
Actually being in a studio.
Yeah.
And not making noise with live mics, and not saying stuff when there's a scene going on, because these are live mics.
Yeah.
So that was probably technically the hardest bit of being an understudy, because we had zero time in that studio.
Yeah.
When we were there to tech, we had none of that until maybe the last 3 or 4 previews. We'd finally got rehearsals, because they were still rehearsing the show. So when we did the cover run, which we thankfully had, because that doesn't happen either, we had like a 2-hour tech, and they had the whole week to tech. So that was super intense, and we were all like pooing ourselves.
Because 2 hours is less than the full time of the show, right?
It was so quick. And I was going to go on as Reg for the cover run. So it was, that was tough. And we had to really be switched on. And we probably watched every preview to, even little like movements in the studio. I'd have to be thinking, okay, what's Zach doing now? Okay, that cable's come out then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Technically, that was the hardest part. For sure.
And that's fascinating as well, because in that, at no point have you talked about actually playing the instrument, which is a whole nother beast. It's the things that are giving you the most stress. It's like, or the things that you were thinking about the most, like earlier, talking about with Grover, like just leaving doors open when they're supposed to be and stuff. It's those little things that and that speaks of a generosity as well, because then that if you do or don't do those things, it's going to affect someone else's performance. So that's really lovely to sort of think about. But when it comes to actually playing the instrument as well, was that something that you were just like, it's like saying my lines, I'll just do it because, that's what I've been rehearsed to do? Was that less stressful?
Yeah, I mean, do you guys play?
She does.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like once you know the song, there's not that much stress.
Yeah.
It is like saying your lines.
Yeah.
You just do the song. So that didn't add any stress. It was more, okay, the song's finished. Where does the bass go? They'll put it there or there. Stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
That then will affect the rest of the scene or something.
Yeah.
Or the play.
But what an amazing experience then to be in a studio, because the show is, like you said, very cool and the characters are cool. To be in a studio playing music, that's an amazing extra experience.
Yeah.
We were wondering actually when we saw it, there's whole scenes where you're behind that glass and we can't hear you.
Yeah.
And obviously tell me to bugger off if this is a question you can't answer. But are you at that point, like obviously you've been doing it a long time, but the characters are very intense. Are you at that point still in character, improvising lines that the characters would say? Sure. Or at this point you're like, okay, I'll be Sam in there?
I think it started off very much like we need to be really careful.
Yeah.
We have to at least talk in our accent, at the very least, and act like, because I think in the first time that they're in the studio, Reg has come in and he's off his skull.
Yeah.
He's smashed. And I think at the start I could see Zach, still playing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as time's gone on, everyone's just, as soon as they're in the studio,
yeah.
God, what a day. The audience are crap, aren't they? Very, very normal.
Yeah.
And they talk about utter nonsense in there.
Yeah.
Like nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 2024, you were at the Barn Theatre doing a production of Some Mothers Do Avum.
Yes.
And you played Frank Spencer. What's it like to play such a famous character that's been sort of immortalised by someone else and is very well known? Like, it's a little similar to Understudying in a way. Like, what was that process like for you?
In ways, it was easier because there's already a character to do. And in ways, it was harder because obviously Frank Spencer is so iconic to, a large number of people, that there's always going to be a comparison. There's always going to be like well, you're not Michael Crawford, are you? So that was scary. That I'd never done anything like that before. But I think because he's so unique, I think the leap was so huge that it was easy to get to that. If it was like really similar to me, then that would be harder to sort of distinguish. But because he's so odd and strange, then it was easier to make that jump. But I think I was just more nervous of the reaction of like, what people are going to think. Like it's like being Del Boy.
Right.
And then, it's just scary.
But I suppose you can't stand there and go, you've got to go, I'm an actor, right? Rather than I'm a impressionist or I'm a tribute act. There's a difference in that. How did you go about then having, I suppose, for the arc of the play and reaction, and how did you go about adding in, okay, well, this is physically how he does things, but I need to add in my own arc and my own emotion and all that sort of thing?
It's tough.
Sorry.
I don't know. I think because the script was a combination of a few episodes with an added sort of storyline. So there was no sort of section where I could just take it from the episode and do the same thing.
Right, okay.
But the character obviously had to be the same or similar, or at least you watch it and think that's Frank Spencer. Do you know what I mean? So I think because the story was so different and the jokes were also different because the guy who wrote it, his name is Guy Unsworth. He wrote it. I think he might have written it with the original writer Raymond Allen. I think. I know he definitely wrote it with Joe Pasquale, because the script was so different. There was more room to do something different instead of doing what Frank or what Michael Crawford did as Frank. But at the same time, there was always this like looming presence in my head of is this what Frank would do, or is this what Sam would do?
I had a question to jump back a little bit towards Stereophonic. Mm-hmm. When you auditioned with all these different things you had to do, what was the process like for doing that, for the auditions for Stereophonic? Because you have music, 3 different characters.
Oh, I see. Yeah. The call was to pick between Reg, Peter and Simon.
Right, okay.
And I couldn't play drums. And I thought, I'm not that strong of a guitarist. I'll just go for Reg. Not knowing what the play was about, not knowing who he was. I just thought I'd pick him because he plays bass. Mm-hmm. And then we did a tape for Reg, which was the houseboat scene.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then it was 2 in-person auditions where I had to play with Will Butler, who was from Arcade Fire, which is pretty damn cool.
Wow.
That's really cool.
On the bass. And then I had to do houseboats again and pick between Grover and Charlie. And I chose Grover. Again, not knowing anything. I'd not seen the play or even understood what it was really about. I'd read the script, but it's like reading a court document. You know, it's just word. It's just normal conversation. So I did then Grover, and then I got the final recall, and then I had to do the same scenes again with another scene, and then I left, and I was like, I think it went well, but I'm not sure. And as I was leaving the building, the casting director came back down and said, before I left, they were like, can you read it in for Charlie as well? And I was like, okay, sure. And they gave me the sheet, and I had maybe like 5-10 minutes to go over the scene. Did the scene with the reader. And it was all just a blur. It was like, oh, okay, and now that's done. And now I've left, and I've just done Charlie, and I'm not sure how it went. But that I think that was what made me get it, because I then did Charlie as well, and they could see that there was they wanted less understudies. I got there really early, and I was sat next to the casting director, who was outside, just on my phone, and I could hear her say to the casting assistant, Sonia wants less understudies. And I was like, oh, okay, great, that bodes well. So then when I did Charlie, I thought, there's a chance here that I could do all 3. And that's how it worked out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy it more when there's other understudies on, or is it just different?
It's different. Yeah. Different. I think, obviously, I love it because I love the understudies, and, you know, they're my friends.
Yeah.
But there was a really lovely moment. The person who plays Diana, her name is also Lucy. She was an understudy before the show. She was understudying on The Seagull. And then she got this job, which is incredible. And it was me, Rima, who understudies Holly, and Steve, who understudies Simon and Peter, but he was doing Simon. And we were doing the final song in Act 1, and it was we were all feeling it. It was so great, and it felt so good. And then all the understudies went upstairs to our little dressing room, and Lucy came up in floods of tears, and she was like, I just wanted to say that you guys were absolutely amazing, and that song that is going to stick with me for the rest of my life. I was like, Lucy, that's so lovely. That's just a lovely thing to say. Like, and I think she understands what it's like to be a cover, and how annoying it is at times because you really want to be on, but you can't be on. And she gets it. She's always been an avid supporter of us, and always a person to go to for advice and all that stuff. And she's brilliant as well.
It's interesting that, isn't it, that actors, it's almost like you sometimes can tell if you're an understudy, when actors have understudied, because it's a very difficult thing to explain to someone, because it is that feeling of waiting in the wings, but also there is a slight separation. Obviously, you've been on a lot for Stereophonic, which is amazing.
Thank God.
But what's your process for sort of dealing with that in terms of when you're not going on? Like, how do you keep yourself sane? Is it an exercise in keeping yourself sane, or are you quite on a level?
I think because I have been on so often, I'm trying to think of like a car analogy. I'm in cruise mode. I'm cruising. I've not stopped the car. Yeah. And then I have to, sort of turn it on again. I'm going and I'm waiting for the call, because I think in the last 4 weeks I've been on at least once in the last 4 weeks. Like, I'm always ready to go on. Yeah. Which is amazing for me, But when I'm off, that feels like the job again. I'm thinking, okay, well, this is what I signed on for.
Yeah.
I'm signing on to be here on standby in the dressing room, and that's what I'm here for. And I understood that. So there's no kind of like me dealing with that. It's just I'm doing the job right now.
Yeah.
And I'm ready. I'm ready if Ben does come up again and says, "You're on."
Yeah.
Tonight you're on.
That's amazing. That's a really good mentality to have. Like, what advice would you give young actors and actor musicians, just in general?
It's going to sound really lame, but I have imagined being asked this question before, and I've always tried to think of like really helpful advice. So the advice that I keep getting is always be nice. That's just a given. People ask for references all the time. And if you're not a nice person, then they'll be like, okay, well, I'll go with this other guy then because he's nicer.
Yeah.
And we're going to spend a lot of time together. I know it sounds really obvious, but like it's just be nice.
Yeah.
And also stay in it. Even when it's really, obviously it's, again, that's easy to say, but you know, staying in it and being patient and just keep on grinding. It has to pay off surely.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the way you think it will, there'll be a job that you think that was worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as well, often patience feels like a passive thing to be patient. But it's also quite active, isn't it? Because you have to do things in order to be patient and keep that sanity. Is there anything that you do actively where you're like, this, you know, I need to be patient and I need to focus on something? How do you remain patient?
I think trusting yourself and trusting that, you know, that there will be an audition that you will get or you can get yourself and, you know, and you'll get it.
Yeah.
There will be that time that you will get it. But again, that's so easy to say, isn't it? Like,
I think it's lovely. There's such a humble, I think is the right word, the way you're describing it. It's such a humbleness to it because it's that thing of going, the right thing will come to you. Rather than being like, you know, if you keep doing 10 auditions, eventually you'll get one. It's like, no, the right job will come to you and the job that's for you. And particularly in the job you're doing right now, I mean, what a job that's tailored to you. Like, and you're on all your skills across the board. Like, I think that's really lovely to think of it as a way of being like, it's not any job will come to you, it's the right one. Yeah. And that's really nice.
Yeah, and I agree. Yeah. I do think that what is right for you won't pass you. But you also have to be ready for that. Can't you know, if you quit, then you quit, and that's absolutely fine. It's a hard job, and sometimes there is no job, and that is hard.
Yeah.
But I think being patient is tough because it can feel passive, as you say, you're not doing anything, but actually you are. By staying in the game, you are.
Every day is an active choice.
Yeah.
It's nice as well because you said the barn have rehired you a lot of times, and that's a testament to your first point, which is being nice. If you're a nice person to work with, people will want to work with you multiple times.
Exactly.
Which is always going to look good on a CV, and it's always going to feel good as well.
For sure. Yeah. And I think it usually comes down to ego. Like if you know, if you're not nice, I think it usually is because you feel like you're better than them or the show, or you know. But ultimately, as soon as that job ends, you're just like every other actor, out of a job, and you're waiting for it again. So yeah, I think being humble, being nice, and just being positive is my advice.
I think that's great advice.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Can I ask as well? You said as you know, waiting for the next audition or the next job you can get yourself, and you made a distinction there. What do you mean by that in terms of like how do you get a job yourself in that sense? Because I know what you mean. Like there are sometimes if you've got an agent, agents will put you up for auditions with people that you have no connections to.
Yeah.
But then also there are people, say the barn, directors you worked with before, where you see a project and you can kind of send an email to someone that you know and be like, hey, this looks really cool.
Yeah.
I'm really nice.
That's how I start my emails.
Just, you know, I'm really, really, really nice.
But is that the kind of thing that you mean, where it's like work you get yourself in terms of contacting those people and building those relationships, keeping those going?
I think that is what I mean. I think, you know, if you're on a show and you build those relationships with the director in particular, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to hire you, and if you're good and if you put in the time and you put in the work, then they probably will hire you again because they can rely on you. And if you suit a part that they are casting, then they're going to think of you. And I know that's not, well, no, that that is you getting the job because you've put in the work to then make them think, I want them again. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And also stuff like there was an intimacy rehearsal on a week, and I was in York with my partner, and all the trains were cancelled. Every single train from York was cancelled, and I was thinking, I'm not going to make it to this. Obviously, it's a really important rehearsal, and I'm just not going to make it. And my partner Buster had to take me 50 miles out of her way to, I think it was Darlington, and then from Darlington I had to get to Euston, and I made it with 2 minutes. I ran from Euston to the theatre. I made it in 2 minutes, and I told them all the issues, but in my head I'm thinking, I have done my best to get here. Someone is going to think, someone will remember that. Do you know what I mean? It's little things like that, maybe just put in the work, put in the time, and people do notice.
Yeah.
People really do notice. Because there was someone that didn't turn up and they live around the corner.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, who are they going to think of? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
That's really interesting.
Just stuff like that. Just try your best.
Yeah.
Because I've got lots of advice.
No, that's great. It's great advice. You mentioned about the intimacy call.
Yeah.
So for our listeners who don't know, that's someone who comes in to basically work on scenes where you have to be in close contact or intimate with another actor. What's that experience like? Because I think it's something that's relatively, rightly, newer in the industry.
Yeah.
What's that kind of rehearsal like then?
It's scary.
Yeah.
It really is scary. And it's also, as my girlfriend's not an actor.
Right.
So, for someone who's not in the business, it's like, your job is to kiss someone else.
I have to drive you 50 miles to Darlington so you can kiss another woman.
Kiss someone else. I'm having a great time with you. You know what I mean? It's so it is scary because you don't know the person that well to then. I know it's a job, and you're acting as if we're husband and wife, and
That's great.
So, shall I quick fire?
Oh, shall we?
Quick
so
fire.
the final part of
Here we go.
our interview, we like to do quick fire questions,
Oh my God.
which don't always have quick fire answers. So
Okay.
please don't feel it's yes, no, blue.
I'll
red.
do my best.
I mean, yeah. So, but they're just some questions that we like to kind of end with. So yeah,
me.
please don't feel pressure to answer them really quick.
Can I plead the fifth as well?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, what has been the proudest moment of your career?
God, these aren't quick fire.
They're not quick fire. That's why, hence
They
the
never
huge
are.
preface before, because it's yes. Yeah. What's the proudest moment of your career?
Oh, I mean, it has to be going on the West End. It's pretty, West End debut was pretty special. West End debut.
Yeah.
Did you have people come and see you? As in, like, family, friends?
Yeah,
loved ones?
my luckily we had a holiday. Not me. They had a holiday booked in, and I
Great.
could bring my family in, and that
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty damn cool.
Amazing.
What's the hardest part about being an understudy?
I think it is the acceptance that you aren't going to go, all the work that you've done and all that time that you've put in, you aren't going to have many opportunities to show that, and you have to sit in that and accept it. And you've signed the contract to be the understudy. That's what you're going to be. And I think because in the first few weeks of rehearsals, I was starting to really feel like quite frustrated because I'm not doing anything. I'm just learning lines and I'm watching them do their thing, and I want to be doing my thing. So accepting that, I think that's the hardest part being an understudy.
What is the name of your understudy group chat?
Oh, good question. I actually made this chat, and I'm proud
Group
of the
admin?
Yeah, group admin,
Nice.
and I'm proud of the title, The Cover Coven.
Very good.
That is good.
Very good.
Huh?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
You should be proud.
I am proud.
Because there's nothing worse than when you create it, you put the title and someone else changes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
like a knife in the heart.
Or you haven't got the confidence to name it, so you put like insert funny name here, and
Yeah.
that's it, and
Yeah.
then it stays like that for 6 weeks, and you're like, oh, I
Cover
feel like an
covered.
idiot.
I was bold.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Hello. Oh, it's Andy. It's Andy again. Hey, how's it going? Oh wow, 3 kilos of sausages. How much? £2.50. They went out of date in June. Anyway, yeah, no, I'll send him. He's on his way. Yep, great, thanks. Cheers. All right, pick me up something nice. Bye.
Is that all
That-
improvised, by the way?
Can't you tell? I mean, who would script that?
thought
That
it
was
was- I thought it was
atrocious.
brilliant.
Yeah, he's very talented.
Wow.
But unfortunately, Sam, you have to go because
on.
you're on tonight.
Okay.
How are you feeling?
I feel ready.
Yeah.
This will be 60, so show 60.
Show 60.
Show 60.
Wow.
Yeah, feeling good.
Good. Thank you so much for coming
Thank you
on.
so much.
you.
Thank
man.
you. Yeah,
really
that
enjoyed
was
it.
It's so good.
amazing.
It's
Thank
so
you.
good.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
That's it from us this week. You've been listening to You're On Tonight, produced by and recorded at the Sound Company in London.
And if you've enjoyed the show, turn on automatic downloads to never miss an episode. Like, subscribe, share, follow, etc., etc., etc. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at You're On Tonight. And tell your friends, spread the word, pass this episode around.
And get in contact. If you have comments, suggestions of guests, questions on how understudying in the industry works, let us know. Or if you're an understudy with fantastic stories you want to share, then get in contact through all of those socials at You're On Tonight.
Maybe you'll be called by the understudy phone soon.